So, let's talk about the Chainblade rework. Sit back and enjoy the train wreck. Consider dropping a like for me and subscribing if you're new to the channel. And if you want to support me through this uncertain time, you can become a channel member for 99 cents and cancel whenever if you feel like my content has gone and committed suicide along with Dauntless. So this video is only going to be about the Chainblade rework. Many of the other changes in patch 1.8.3 are going to be shown in the other video launching today. But that is the first thing we need to start on. It is not a refresh as they have been branding it. It is a rework. It is way closer to the sword rework than any other refresh has been to this. Because of their wording, many people were expecting minor changes, just maybe bumping up the DPS and changing a few things about the combos, but it is a full rework and pretty much nothing about the weapon has remained the same. So I made it to a 5-page, almost 6-page rant about how terrible these changes are, but I realized if I released that as the video, then I wouldn't have really explained any of the changes, so I'll try to structure it a little bit differently. So to quote their blog post on this, to make slaying with chain blades more engaging, we decided to give this well-loved weapon an extensive refresh. And I'm going to counteract this statement with my own statement. The two playstyles that have been played before this rework, being the Hellion Swinging Blades playstyle and the Boreas Momentum Blades playstyles, are pretty much non-existent. And the feel of the Reaper's Dance special itself is completely different. So I think the best way to structure this is basically gonna be go down their blog post and just say what things are bad as they are saying them. And I'll show you guys in-game what it looks like. So keep this in mind, and let me quote them here on this. The Chainblade's moveset, specials, and mods were fairly straightforward and didn't encourage much combat diversity once you had mastered their ins and outs. Many of you just had one good combo and one good special you always wound up using. Keep that in mind for later, but let's jump into the first mechanic change. So first up is meter generation. Each individual attack now generates a fixed amount of meter. Also, at the start of the hunt, you will now only have one pip full instead of having the full meter full, and these pips are now officially called momentum. But here, let me show you. I've got some extra damage on this build. We're going to do one light attack combo, and we're going to get 1 bar of meter. And then on recruit chain blades, literally no perk, we are also going to do a light attack combo, and we're going to get 1 bar of meter. And then this is either a bug with the Chainblade meter itself, or it's a bug with how I filled out my Slayer's Path on this test account, but it doesn't seem like the sword reforges does anything. But that change on its own is fine, like sword works the same way. However, since the Chainblade meter worked off of damage beforehand, this pretty much no matter what your build means that you are going to be building special meters slower. Now, the special meter building up slower is also fine if you are given the context of what they did to the specials themselves, because the use of the special is actually a lot more meaningful. Let's talk about the combos, and the one overwhelming positive I can find out of this Chainblade rework entirely is chain pull becoming its own combo rather than being tied to the dance special. So W plus your heavy attack is your chain pull now. So chain pull being removed from the special is a very positive change because you won't have these situations where you're like right next to Behemoth and somehow you end up doing a chain pull when you are trying to do a push off. And two of the combos have stayed the same, being Bladed Edge and Blade Spin. So your full light attack combo is still the same, it's exactly as it was. And Blade Spin is still the same combo, but there's a small addition to it in that you can move while doing it now. Reason number one that chain blades feel like trash is that they have completely removed the light, light, heavy, light combo. Light, light, heavy. I don't do anything. The primary reason for this feeling bad is that the light, light, heavy, light combo is pretty much the only combo you ever used on chain blades. But another positive of this rework design is that more than just one combo has a meaning to it. So, Blade Spin is going to be the best DPS combo. Not that that's really saying much, but it will be the best DPS combo that you have. The Bladed Edge slash the full light attack spam combo is the fastest way to build meter, so you will gain a full charge of momentum from doing one combo of the light attacks. And the Chain Fling combo no longer exists. It's been replaced by this last combo, and let's talk about that. So the meaning of our last combo here is that you gain wound damage from doing this combo. However, it's not like great at wounding, it will wound. Pretty trash at meter generation, if you were wondering. It takes 2 full combos to get a momentum charge. Now, chain blades being able to do wound damage just from an inherent weapon attack is a good thing, but this fucking animation is terrible. How do you let this get into the game? It not only looks bad, it feels bad. It is so unnecessarily sluggish, and attack speed does pretty much nothing to help it. Now, the combos themselves changing wouldn't really be all that big of a deal on their lonesome. The sword rework did that. It changed literally every combo in the game, and everybody loved the sword rework for the most part. For casual players, the sword's DPS is pretty decent, even if you're not playing it properly. You might get a few hundred DPS bump if you're playing them correctly versus like spamming light attacks or something. But one of the glaring issues that all of these combos have is the immense lack of stagger damage. There is just no stagger damage to be spoken of on these combos. It's terrible. Chain blades were already pretty bad at staggering with the swinging blades combo. It was like maybe 5 seconds slower than a stagger you would get with any of your other weapons. But this basically brings it to the level of I'm pretty sure you won't get a stagger in a trial run. And one of my other main gripes with these combos here, this is a blank build, nothing on it. I'm just going to spam light attack here. And we're probably going to end up somewhere around this 600, maybe 550 DPS mark. And then I'm just going to spam heavy attacks. And this is also going to have a better peak, but it's going to fall down very fast to a little bit better than just spamming light attacks. And again, this absolutely atrocious animation doesn't really scale with attack speed. So once you have like Catalyst, Blitz Tonic, your light attack spam is going to do more DPS. Let's go ahead and do the Blade Spin DPS too, just to get a baseline for all of them. So you can actually cross into another spin right after doing the finisher for a spin, but you do have to end up putting some light attacks in there. Blade Spin is kinda scaling well with attack speed, but the DPS that it outputs really isn't that much more valuable than the meter generation you are gaining off of the light attack spam. And this is because of how these specials have been changed. Now let's talk about those. For Reaper's Dance, the attacks themselves are the exact same, but the stacking mechanic has been removed. So clicking Reaper's Dance is going to just send you in the animation like it did before, but if you don't do a follow-up move, you do consume 1 momentum. Doing the push-off and a light attack follow-up also consumes 1 momentum. And the Heavy Slam, instead of doing the stacking mechanic to give you more damage, is just going to give you more damage based on how much momentum you have, and it is going to use up literally all of that momentum. So what they say about this is the changes add some tactical decisions to this special. Do you use it to avoid attacks and reposition, conserving your stamina, or do you save your momentum for 1 big hit, potentially staggering the behemoth at a key moment? And I think the tactical decision is pretty clear, just literally don't use Reaper's Dance until you can slam. But even if you take like the 20-30 seconds to build up the meter all the way, if you miss your slam, your momentum just still goes away. And that slam is more valuable now, and it now has a base damage of 2400 when you have max momentum. But the Reaper's Dance light attacks no longer help you build up the damage of that slam, and they themselves did not get any sort of buff whatsoever. You would only be using the Reaper's Dance light attacks for 2 reasons: if you need more stagger damage, and if you want to dodge an attack without using stamina. There is literally no other reason to use the Reaper's Dance light attack in this new system. So let's get this straight. Light, light, heavy light doesn't exist, and Reaper's Dance light attack is now pretty much useless. That was literally about 95 to 99% of what you were doing with chain blades before this patch. The changes to Reaper's Dance are enough that I would call it a completely new special. It's not really even the same special as it was before, which is very much not the same as the sword reworks, like addition without subtraction mindset for their special reworks. So Insatiable Dance got changed as well. The light attack functions literally the same as the Reaper's Dance, but the heavy attack, those healing orbs, will now actually give you a damage bonus if you are at full health. If you get all the orbs, it's a 20% damage bonus for 10 seconds. For a whole 10 seconds. I gave the devs a suggestion about 3 weeks ago that honestly, if you wanted to, you could completely scrap Insatiable Dance, because it's literally a Reaper's Dance copycat, but worse. And you could actually make the old functionality of Reaper's Dance be on Insatiable Dance, and maybe give it a different name because you're completely changing what the special does. But Insatiable Dance is instead still going to exist as the trash can of a special that it is. It's only going to deal 600 base damage, it's barely going to give you any healing worth mentioning, and it's going to give you now an abysmal damage bonus for only 10 seconds. The saving grace and the clear winner of any of these specials changes is Cruel Rift Strike. This is the fastest way to build meter, guys. This is the fastest way you can do it. So Cruel Rift Strike will now kind of latch on to the nearest behemoth part when you're done teleporting, and it will now apply a duration over time damage effect to that part. When it expires, it'll do a damage explosion based on how many other parts on the behemoth you have marked. And if you actually dodge an attack during a teleport, your mark lasts longer. So the Boreas Chainblades with Reaper's Dance playstyle is pretty much dead. However, it sort of lives on with Cruel Rift Strike Momentum Blades. Have 2 legs, 2 back legs. Thanks for the follow, man. You actually need Momentum Blades to get your maximum damage out of Cruel Rift Strike, because you only have 4 base uses of the special, and most behemoths have 6 parts to them. 2 front legs, 2 back legs, a tail, and a head. But if you get a number of marks that are going to be dealing DOT damage on the behemoth, you are actually going to give a pretty sizable boost to your DPS. See, like, that was doing as much base damage as the combos themselves. But it's kind of unfortunate because you kind of really need to spam Cruel Rift Strike. So it basically just ends up being you want to spam the light attack combo to get as much meter as you possibly can to feed Cruel Rift Strike. But this does actually end up being, you know, like a pretty fast-paced, you know, pretty okay way to play Chainblades, and it's actually pretty fun. I will admit that. It's pretty fun to do this. So for mods changes, you can see that nothing has been done to Momentum Blades, and pretty much nothing has been done to Hurricane Blades. But Serrated Blades now gives you a chance to deal extra wound damage with your garbage can attacks. And then you got Lightweight Chain, which will actually increase the distance at which you can pull to the behemoth from, and it will also actually give you a substantial amount of meter when you actually successfully pull to a behemoth. Oh shit. Wait. Demolition Blades, low-key, actually has a somewhat decent effect. Now, you still deal plus 50% damage to minions, fauna, and objects created by behemoths, but upon killing a minion, fauna, or destroying an object, you gain momentum. Like, not gonna lie, that's actually not terrible. Like on Boreas Trial, you're basically just gonna gain a ton of free momentum. But let me sum up why, comparatively with the old Chainblades, this rework feels absolutely atrocious to play. Number one, the light, heavy, light, and the Reaper's Dance light attacks, which again consisted about 95 to 99% of what you were doing with Chainblades, both of those are either just gone in the case of light, heavy, light, or they are terrible in the case of Reaper's Dance. Number two, again, the stagger damage is pretty much non-existent, and playing solo, you're probably not going to get a stagger unless you hit a Reaper's Dance heavy attack. Number three, that heavy combo is atrocious. It's atrocious to look at, and it's atrocious to use because it doesn't scale with attack speed, though it's probably just a bug on that. And number four, the reason they did this entire thing was because we were using too much of one combo, and admittedly, that one combo was doing too many things well, better than anything else on the weapon. But it's basically going to be the same thing post-rework. You're going to try to spam Blade Spin whenever you can because it's going to deal the most DPS until you run out of stamina, and then you're just going to use Light Attack. That's if you're playing Reaper's Dance, and then you're just not even going to use the Reaper's Dance Light Attack function, and you're just going to Reaper's Dance Heavy Attack. Or the alternative playstyle, which is with Cruel Rift Strike, you are just literally going to do the same thing, but you're just spamming Light Attack. You won't even have a use for the Heavy Attack button. Let me bring up that quote again. The Chainblade's moveset, specials, and mods were fairly straightforward and didn't encourage much combat diversity once you mastered their ins and outs. Many of you just had one good combo and one good special you always wound up using. But that problem of you're still basically only going to want to use one combo is pretty much the same. Like, you want to use Blade Spin if you can because it's the most DPS, but if you can't, then you're going to use the Bladed Edge instead. And you basically need the Behemoth to have an interrupt, or you have to have them have a long stagger animation to feel like you're doing literally anything with the weapon. Savit, the new Behemoth, doesn't have an interrupt, and its stagger will come much later than you want it to. Because again, Chainblades are bad at stagger damage now. But if the Chainblades are now, in their new state, not fairly straightforward and do encourage combat diversity, how have I been able to boil down 2 strict playstyles that you are going to be playing and the exact combo chains that you are going to want to be using in those playstyles? It's pretty much the same problems the old Chainblades had, it's just slightly more hidden. But one of the things that felt really bad in testing throughout this entire experience was the DPS. It is god awful. They took away the best DPS combo, and they took away the DPS functionality of the Reaper's Dance light attacks, but they literally did not buff anything else aside from the Reaper's Dance heavy attack slam damage. And I think pretty much every single tester was saying, hey, the DPS on these kind of really suck. Can you bump it up a bit? And I feel like their reluctance to actually do it has to deal with our wonderful friend, the data. The mass public player data that has been driving quite a few decisions by Phoenix Labs lately. The Twin Suns didn't get buffed because their data was showing that the Twin Suns were dealing a significant amount more damage than the regular repeaters. But you saw what happened when they buffed the regular repeaters and not the Twin Suns. The regular repeaters were way overpowered and way overperforming in trials for something that's literally just holding down the left click button. But the Twin Suns were still just bad. They were only being used because there was a bug where you could get infinite mag bombs on them. The regular repeaters in the sense of trials were already better than the Twin Suns were, but because of their data, they didn't buff the Twin Suns, and they are still a laughingstock of a weapon. So I think they didn't do anything DPS-wise that we were telling them, hey, bump up the DPS because of the public data saying that Chainblades are one of the better weapons in the game to the average player. But I would say that speaks more to the consistency of how Chainblades function rather than how good they actually were. Because, you know, in the speedrun setting and DPS-wise, they were probably more like the second worst weapon in the game. You know, aside from like Boreas Trial, there was pretty much 0% chance for it to actually be number 1 on the trial leaderboard. And in a lot of cases was consistently about 30 seconds plus behind the best weapon. But I think my bigger gripe behind the data is how they structured the entire Chainblade rework to function anyway. There's a reason that light attacks were chosen to be the best way to build meter. And this is likely because of the public new player data saying that the new players were pretty much only using the light attacks on Chainblades and then occasionally throwing in a Reaper's Dance heavy attack. I saw this for myself a lot on Twitch. I would be in a casual player's stream and they're playing Chainblades and they're literally just spamming light attack the entire time. You know, they maybe do 1 or 2 Reaper's Dance light follow-ups, and then they'll hit a Reaper's Dance heavy. They're not even getting the most out of their Reaper's Dance. And on any weapon, if you're just spamming light attacks, that's pretty much just a flaw with your gameplay. But rather than trying to correct this flaw in the gameplay, they actually encourage it now. You know, a possible solution to this would have been to just make more in-depth weapon tutorials in-game. Like, between just watching these videos at Trainer Rosk and then having this on your side, this is pretty much all you get in terms of a weapon tutorial, and then plus the move list, I guess, but there's pretty much nothing great here either. If they would have just tried to teach players how to be better with the weapon, then they wouldn't have had to structure the entire rework around, all right, we need to give newer players an easier time with this already easy weapon. So yeah, what we ended up getting here is honestly probably worst case scenario. A dude in my Discord server actually made some guesses as to what I could possibly feel like is weird and feels bad about Chainblades. And he actually ended up getting about half of them right, and he was kind of exaggerating on the points. But I want you guys to know that I tried. I tried to get this to release at an acceptable level. When we very first tested their initial round of suggestions here, I wrote them 2 pages of feedback on how terrible it felt. Being nice and in a full essay format, so it was a full good 2 pages. And looking back at it, pretty much nothing changed from this feedback that I gave them. But with all that being said, I hope you guys still do have fun and enjoy playing Dauntless after this, because, you know, the rest of this update was amazing. Literally everything else I couldn't find that big of an issue with, except for chain blades being the massive shit stain that it is. And if you can just play another weapon, or just never played chain blades to begin with, then you'll probably love this patch because it's actually amazing. Reddit has already responded pretty negatively to these changes, and hopefully with enough momentum, they will, you know, take another look at the drawing board at least. But it's kind of really hard to call myself a partner of this game whose developers just made a very horrible decision with releasing this Chainblade rework in the state that it is. I still hope there will be a reason for me to make Dauntless content, but I will be flirting heavily with some other games now. But that's pretty much it. I've been Trevor. I go by the Mr. Trails. Catch you guys next time.